We're live on Facebook.
Oh,
We're
wait, one second. Let me get the headphones off. Okay. Now it should be working. There we go.
yes. You're good.
Okay. Wonderful.
Awesome, everybody. Well, I'm hearing a bit of an echo.
Yeah. I'm turning off the volume on my phone.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday. TJ and I were just talking about what an amazing day Tuesday is for content. So, that being said, this is episode number 13. Well, lucky number 13, I guess, for those of you guys who follow that, of the Open Heart Collective. And my guest is none other than a legend, TJ Reeves. So, for those of you guys who haven't yet tuned into an episode of the Open Heart Collective, welcome. For those of you who are returning guests, this is the 13th episode in a ongoing content series all around mental health. We don't have these conversations often enough, and we sure as hell don't have these conversations open enough. So we said we needed to do it, so I started it. That being said, TJ, you have quite the story, buddy. I want you to introduce yourself.
Yeah. So I'm TJ Reeves at TJ Reeves MindBody Builder. I guess to understand me, you have to understand my parents just a little bit. If you get my parents, then you'll be like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Because otherwise my life seems like it's almost all over the place, but it's really not. So my mother, she's super extroverted, and she's always coming up with new ideas. And she really instilled in me a lot of confidence. She always like growing up, she was always like, TJ, if you put your time and effort into anything, you'll be dominant at that thing, no matter what. Okay. She found my father, and my father was raised in Puerto Rico in one of the worst ghettos. And he managed to climb out of that ghetto with my mother and become a doctor. He's incredibly focused, but at the same time, he was a Olympic level sprinter. So he was actually part of the Puerto Rican Olympic sprinting team. So when you combine those two, that's how you get me. So I have the creativity of my mother, the extroversion of my mother, the pride in myself and the pride in others. Like I always want to like push everybody else the same way my mother pushed me and always told me the truth. She could be harsh, but she would always tell me the truth. So I have that in me. And I also have the hyper focus of my father. I have the scientific mindset of my father, and I have the athletic background of my father as well. The other aspect of me that you have to understand is that I grew up as part of the first generation to really utilize YouTube. And I took advantage of YouTube as much as possible in educating myself. And so I would educate myself when it came to my mind and understanding study. Like when I was just in high school, I was learning study habits and learning more about like the tricks and processes of the mind. And I was very interested in psychology. I would also use YouTube in order to understand athletics. Like, for example, I had a dream since I was a kid to attend Johns Hopkins University to play lacrosse, but I lived in Miami. And so when you're in the South, and you're Black, there's not many options to learn lacrosse from, but YouTube presented that opportunity for me. So I taught myself how to play lacrosse just from YouTube. I also learned a lot about relationships, again, from the internet and like building myself and reading different research studies. And I learned about creative processes, and I learned about how to set up lighting, how to.
Your lighting is far superior to mine, buddy.
Dude, these lights are like maybe like $100. I think anybody can get these lights. They're pretty fantastic.
Behind me, because it's like, oh, hey, I did not design this room properly. When I didn't take video into mind when I was building this room, because there's this light directly above my head that constantly makes me look like I have an idea. Sorry, Instagram, you can't see that. And those of you guys who actually listen to this in the audio form later, you won't be able to see it either. But if you tune into an episode, then you'll see it. Anyways, go ahead.
So I learned all these different processes using the internet to my advantage. Eventually I made it to Johns Hopkins University, and I was living my dream. Again, growing up, I had wanted to become a doctor similar to my father. That was just
Right.
my idea. My favorite superhero growing up was this guy named Cyborg. He was part of the Teen
Love
Titans.
Cyborg.
Yeah, and so I had this, like, part of the things I enjoyed watching on the internet was I liked watching neurosurgery when I was growing up. And so I was like, okay, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I wanted to create Cyborg from Teen Titans. And I knew Johns Hopkins was the place to do it. My sister had attended there, and I knew of its lore. I knew of its history. So I also wanted to play for the Hopkins lacrosse team, as I mentioned earlier. So, I had this crazy plan that I could get myself recruited through football to eventually make it to Hopkins, and then show off my athleticism in football to eventually be able to make it onto the lacrosse team. And that's what I actually did. But, you fast forward a couple of years later, I was doing very well. I had basically everything a man could want at that age. I was, a 2-sport athlete in like football and lacrosse. I was dating one of the hottest women in the campus, smartest women in the campus.
I mean, this is Johns Hopkins we're talking about here, people. This is you have to be superiorly intelligent to attend this place.
But she was like the top of the top. Like I gotta hand it to her. Like she. By the way, you ever watch Star Wars? You know how Anakin gets his like hand chopped off, or it's like a normal Star Wars trope to get your hand chopped off, and then they build a robotic prosthetic limb. She built those. She actually built those. Okay, like actively, like on her own time, like for fun. Like that was her entertainment.
This is my entertainment. I'm not in the right line of work.
So, so I have the sports team, I have the girl, I have the grades. I have like a 3.7, 3.8, 3.9 GPA at Hopkins. And so I'm killing it, and I'm also miserable. And, I'm wondering to myself, like, what the hell is going on? I was ostensibly one of the most popular people on the campus, not in like some type of like, look at me, I'm so popular. No, but just people knew me around campus. I was like,
you're that guy. It's all right. It's all right.
Like I was doing well, but still, again, like I secretly kept that in, and I felt absolutely horrible with everything. And I thought to myself, like, my God, like if I have everything a guy could possibly want at this age, and I feel miserable, and I look at everybody else and they don't even have that, then my God, like what the hell is the point of life?
And what age was this?
This is, so I'm about 18, 19, 20 years old. This is for 3 years. I was suffering from serious depression, like serious depression.
And let me frame this.
Yeah.
You said, and I quote, you had everything you wanted.
I had everything I wanted.
Still depressed.
Like, I really mean this, everything I wanted, and I earned it. Some people were like, oh, well, they feel bad because they didn't really earn it, No, I'm like, no, I earned this shit. And I still was miserable. That's because I thought when I accumulated the things, then there would be this point where it was like, okay, I now have this stuff. Now I should be happy. You see, I wasn't more of a process-oriented thinking, right? I did everything as a means to the end, and I didn't have it where all the ends were just to create better means, if that makes any sense. Right. So, so you fast forward a little bit more, I ended up getting a severe concussion in football, and this ripped away everything from me. Okay, so I had to leave the football team. Okay, my starting position on the football team. I had to leave the lacrosse team. When you get concussions, by the way, I think it's like 40 to 50% of people who have very severe concussions, they get suicidal and depressive thoughts. So it was worse than ever. That caused me to be emotionally needy and not take full responsibility for my relationship. Ended up losing that girl. I also actually, so I ripped a muscle in my eye during that concussion, and I didn't quite know like what that was. So I was suffering in unbelievable headaches every single day, and my vision was blurred, so I was unable to read. And as a result, I couldn't even read textbooks, and so I had to like listen through everything through audio. But if I thought for too long, I would start hurting. Like it would physically just like I couldn't continue, and I would want to throw up from just thinking. Okay, so so I have just all of that ripped away. Oh, and throwing my parents get divorced, my dad, and I found out my dad's cheating on my mom, right? So all at once, right? So I'm at a point where I'm just like, screw it, man. Like, okay, I've seen what it was like to be at the top, and I hated it, and now I've had everything ripped away, and I'm just being a pussy because it could even be worse because I'm not even like one of those starving African children. So my only conclusion was,
Right.
well, like, fuck this. Like, this is, can I curse, by the way?
Oh, hell yeah, you can.
Okay. So I'm like,
Everything,
fuck this.
by the way, all the episodes are always marked explicit on the audio and everything
Right.
else. Mainly,
Wonderful.
mainly because like these are raw, real conversations, and sometimes you just need to say "fuck it."
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going.
So I'm there and I'm just like, so I had this surgery on my pinky and they gave me OxyContin pills. Now I didn't take any of the OxyContin pills. I didn't have some pain addiction, but I did have them in my drawer. And so one day I take them and I had like all 60 pills that you have in the bottle. And I was just going to eat, I was just going to eat them all. And I put the bottle to my lips. Like, and I was really about to do it. I read out a note and everything. Okay. And I'm staring myself in the mirror and I'm just like, okay, like, this is it. Like, we're going to do it. This is for real this time. And then I thought last second, wait a minute. No, like, you know what if we just go as hard in the paint as possible? What if we instead, out of just pure spite for life itself? Because by the way, at the time I was like I was like hyper atheist. So at the time I was like,
I think we all go through that phase from time to time.
Right. Actually, it's actually a predicted thing, part of a model of psychological development called spiral dynamics, but that's another story. So let's focus on this. All right. So yeah, I'm there and I'm just like, you know what, just out of spite, like, let's just kill it in everything. And I'd read a little bit in my studies, I'd read about things like spiritual enlightenment. And I thought to myself, okay, at the very least, become enlightened. And then if you've done that, and you still hate life, go ahead and kill yourself. But at the very least, if you continue, a true scientist, you can say you gave it a good shot. You really gave it a good shot. Right. And then, you'll be happy otherwise. So, I started taking control of my life. I made a plan to break up with that girl. Made a plan to like get my grades back, get everything back. Right. And so I started like churning more and more and more. Fast forward a little bit more, I switched to playing for the track and field team. So that's how I was a 3-sport athlete, because, I ended the concussions. Then I came back to a sport where I didn't have to worry about concussions. I could use my speed to my advantage. I also, for the first time, tried out psychedelics. As a form of therapy, because I'd seen some research done at Johns Hopkins itself, showing that it had helped people. And I was like, damn, like, if it's my own professor who's the one saying that it's good, maybe I should try it. And from there, I had an explosion in my creativity. So I started working as a photographer. And I continued, but at that time I was almost a pure hedonist. And I still lacked meaning. I'd even taken this test from University of Pennsylvania that measures different levels of happiness. So like moment to moment happiness, happiness in the form of like overall life satisfaction with like these things you build up. And then there's a form of happiness through meaning. So I scored in the 90th percentile in moment to moment and life satisfaction, but I scored in the 50th percentile at the time in meaning and purpose. And so I said, okay, that's something that I want to work on. Because there's your answer. I'm like, damn, my life is less meaningful than 50% of people. Like I can't stand for that. So I started developing things and working on life purpose and reacquainting myself with what I could do with my life. So I go off to Los Angeles. I'm sitting there, I'm doing this course called the Life Purpose course. And they ask a question, what would you do if you had $100 million? And I remembered, once again, that thing that had started me going to Hopkins in the first place, that I'd gotten away from with grades and all that other stuff, which was that dream that I had as a child to build Cyborg, build something like that. Right. I'd also had some visions and different things like that during my psychedelic trips. And so I write down this question, to this answer to what I would do if I had $100 million. And that same week, I find out in the news that Brian Johnson, this billionaire, had invested $100 million in creating a neuroprosthetic because he wanted to create cybernetic humans that were able to like control their memories. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, well, there's your freaking sign, that's like, if, call me woo woo over here, but if that's not obvious enough, like, hey, you should double down on that. Like, there's your sign. So I applied to him and I didn't get into his program. I found out and so I was like pretty annoyed about that. Then I applied to Elon Musk's program, Neuralink, that came out a couple of months later. I applied there and I had a strong resume. I made a video resume and I still didn't get in. And I was pretty upset about that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it on my own. So I decided that I would just, really double down now for sure on this neurosurgeon thing. Before I was just going to work out their labs, but now I was like, no, we'll just do that. Did that, studied for the MCAT. And I researched the top performers in the MCAT. I found out that they studied for a minimum of 500 hours. So I decided that I would study for 550 hours. And I did that. I studied for about 4 hours every single day. The reason 4 hours in 50-minute chunks. The reason 4 hours is because you can't really study more than that. Anybody who says otherwise is lying. So I would do that. And I ended up getting a perfect score on the MCAT. I shadowed under a neurosurgeon.
A perfect score. Hold on. A perfect score on the MCAT.
Yes, a perfect score on the MCAT.
Okay. I had to let that echo a moment because.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Yeah. So, I mean, 99.999th percentile. I mean, the way it's scored, technically, it's you versus other people. So I could have gotten some questions wrong. But like, either way, the point is I did better than everybody else. So I had some colleges, medical schools give me offers, University of San Francisco, Harvard, Yale, all these guys. And I'm shadowing under a neurosurgeon, just working with him. And he pulls me aside. He's like, TJ, you understand you're too creative and you're too smart for this position. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, what? And he was like, look, you're competent. You're focused, but you're too creative for this. You'd be like, you'd constantly be trying to push way too much to create new things. And that's just not what this entails. And I was thinking about it and I wasn't even mad. Like, I was just like, yeah, you're kind of like, fuck, you're right.
You're right.
Like, so I transitioned and I decided, okay, I'll go back to Hopkins and I'll work for the neuroscience PhD. And because I figured, okay, I'll still be able to work on these technologies. Doing that. I go back to Hopkins and I find one of the professors. He just published in top journals. And I told him, I was like, hey, here are my scores on the MCAT. They told me I was I realized I'm too creative for that position, but I can use my creativity to start creating things within the lab. How would you feel if I worked with you? I'd volunteer my time for free. The only thing I ask is if you really like my work, we'd speed things along when you apply for the PhD. A lot of people, when they apply for a PhD program, they apply to like 30, 40, 50 places. But with this, I was literally just going to be like one and done, just not even worry.
Right.
There, I'm working in the lab. And honestly, academia it really held me back. Like academia, they argue about very small, tiny things. I'm over here trying to advance human civilization and create technologies that are just mind blowing. And they're literally arguing about dots. And I literally mean like I physically mean that they were arguing about an experiment where there are dots on a screen and you have to select the square and someone used the wrong color, okay, or the wrong ratio of colors. Because in the previous experiment, it was blue, all blue dots. But in this experiment, they used blue dots and they used some green dots. And you see, now that they're using green dots, they're not sure if it's the right findings, you see? And I'm just like, bruh, like, so I'm like, okay, so what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to just do this on my own. Like, I'll just take my personality type, take all of these ideas. I'm just having to learn how to be an entrepreneur and do that. And I'm like, okay, but there's one problem. I don't know shit about entrepreneurship. I don't know anything about marketing.
Hey, here's a clue. None of us do.
Yeah. Okay, good. That makes me feel much better. So I was making videos on my own time. I've always enjoyed making videos. I've made a video library for my local hospital. I made videos for the different clubs I was in. I made videos to log concerts I'd gone to. I made videos getting ideas out there. I'd won a contest about making videos. And I was like, you know what? I can maybe start off with that. Maybe at the very least I could just make videos where I talk about my ideas and, just spit out my philosophies. Maybe it'll stick with someone. But it's like, how am I going to make money doing that? So I read the book #AskGaryV, and I love it.
It's over there.
There it is. And so I searched up the literal hashtag Ask Gary Vee, like literally put in hashtag Ask Gary Vee on Instagram. And I saw an ad for a position with this guy, Tyler Harris, where he wanted someone to follow him around and be his apprentice as he teaches them entrepreneurship. And the only thing you have to do was make videos in the entire thing. And all he wanted to do was provide value to people and provide really neat ideas. He didn't even want to monetize it. And he would do his best to teach that person everything he knows about marketing. I'd be starting off with with two platforms, one with 100,000 people following on Facebook and another one with 1 million people following on Facebook. And again, we would travel around the world, meeting top entrepreneurs, interviewing them, talking to them, and that's it. And I was like, yeah. Okay. So I actually hit follow on him, and then he messaged me about some of my work. And that's how I started working for the Daily Bread vlog, which now, we're a couple of months in, we're past 1 million views. We're approaching 1.5 million views. Wow. It's taking us, across the country. I mean, in the past month, literally the past month, we've gone to New York, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Utah, and Greenville, like all in the past month, and it's just been a wild ride meeting top level entrepreneurs. I'm able to meet you. I'm able to learn so much about marketing.
The fact that you put me in that echelon of entrepreneurs just blows my mind.
But just in general, like I guess I wasn't doing this. If you thought I was doing podcasts and stuff like that, I wasn't. I was very confused and I was very upset, thinking to myself, is it that am I some idiot who's gone insane, rejected every single top level school and is full of himself, or am I just being someone who's doubling down on himself and going all in on what's important? And now these days I realize, no, I really am doubling down on what's important. So that's a story. So that's a long story, but
I mean that, my friends, is why we say the show runs 60 minutes, because sometimes stories take up 28. You hit on so many points in there. I mean, you had everything, yet you were depressed. You fought through what you thought you wanted. You didn't get through the route that you initially thought it was going to get you to where, Lou joined us, by the way. Welcome, Lou.
Hey, Luigi,
Lou made this whole thing happen. So, your stories, how did you battle back from those depressed moments to really get to where you are now? Because I look up to you, man.
Thank you, man.
I haven't known you long, but what I know of you, and now I listened to Lou's video with you, or audio session with you last week, and even more so, I've just been paying attention, and what you say resonates so much. But what did you do to get through those dark moments? Because obviously this is one of those discussions where you kind of have to get dirty with the realness of it all.
Oh yeah, that's good. Let's get dirty with the realness, man. Because that's literally, you want to know the answer? I'll tell you the answer. The answer is right here. This discussion, a discussion like this. I knew, I was like, okay, statistically, it makes absolutely no sense for me to have been given my parents, my mind, my body, the opportunities that I've had, and for them not to be used. It makes no statistical sense. It's already 1 in trillions that I'm a human. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it was the thought of the misery I was going through, that I thought that what I could do for other people. That was part of the things that made it so that I didn't kill myself. I thought about the fact that I'm going to just create more suffering for those I care about and those I love. And I can't do that. Part of the reason I was going to kill myself was because I thought I was literally worthless. And I was like, fuck, man, if I think I'm worthless, and honestly, I can be harsh, very judgmental on other people's productivity, then fuck, man, I can't even imagine what goes through the minds of other people. And I was like, okay, I get it now. I've been basically sent, without sounding super crazy here, I was basically sent down to help people and make that just entirely my focus. So there's that. That's the good side of me, So there's two aspects of how I got
There's
myself
two
out of that
aspects
rut.
to every part of it, though.
Yeah.
So
So
I get that completely.
yeah, there's like the I call it like white hat and black hat. This is like a term in when developing video games, white hat and black hat economics. So white
Or
hat,
hackers.
yeah, or hackers, yeah. So yeah, exactly, or hackers. So like white hat, yeah, I want to help other people. Black hat, I want to make everybody who stopped believing in me freaking regret it. Like just be like, damn, like I fucked up. Like that was a stupid move. Like that was really stupid. Like
Solidarity, brother. That's those two like yin and yang kind of things that's me. Like
yeah,
that
I get it.
you just nailed it.
Yeah, and so like there's plenty of people that I call it like my list, and like this is going on the internet. Okay, don't start thinking people that like I'm going like when I talk about I have my list, like don't think I'm gonna go like I don't know like start shooting up the school, something like that. Okay, but I do think of people that I'm like, dude, like I literally like I'm gonna work so hard that you're embarrassed, that you're actually embarrassed that you ever even that you at all were not on my team.
Right.
Like I have no problem saying like Elon Musk, like, you're on my fucking list. Like you fucked up. You should have hired me. Like I'm going to work so hard that at the end of the day, when we're all done, when it like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, I want to be, oh fuck, like who is this Elon guy? Oh, okay, there's the CJ guy. I'm really focused on that. Like I'm really focused on that. My ex-girlfriends, I kind of want to work so hard where it's like they look at their own children and they're like almost embarrassed because they're like, damn, like it's not the child they could have had with TJ. Fuck. Like and that sounds harsh, but you know what? It's powerful.
I fucking get it though. I fucking get it. Like, dude, just
so yeah, that's what I think about all the time, every day.
That's it. I mean, I had a similar circumstance, except my affliction was never pills; it was blades. And
blades, okay, man, that's rough.
It was. I was actually a cutter for a while when I was a teenager, but I always did on the bottom of my feet.
Interesting. Wow, that's painful. My goodness.
It was, but I was also so ashamed of my actions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean,
that's why
I grew up in like my parents divorced at 13. I was 13 when they divorced. My brother was 9. I mean, I didn't grow up bad. Like I have amazing, loving parents. Like my mom's a straight up hustler, but if you screw her over, she will literally rip your throat out.
Yeah.
But my dad is just like, he got in this 9-to-5 life and never left. I mean, he's had the same job for pretty much my entire life. I mean, same company for pretty much my entire life. And he actually works at the same company my father-in-law works at, so it's quite interesting. But it's like those moments when you think you're absolutely worthless, when you think that that you don't have anything to offer, that you think more, and this is the one that's good. This is the one that I want to utilize to speak to all of you guys with right now. The feeling like you're all alone.
Yeah.
Like that messes with somebody's heads, especially. And I did the research. Like when trauma happens at age 13, that's a very formative age.
Hugely formative.
Like I completely forgot why my parents divorced until I was 25 and I was sitting with my dad around his fire. And he told me, I lost a relationship with my mom for nearly a year, maybe close to 2. Because of what I found out, she ended up cheating on my dad. But I thought it was just they got into a money struggle, right? Like I lost it. And then so that was 13, 16 to 17 was my last attempt. And I had just lost my grandma. Like, and my grandmother, I mean, you can't really see it on Instagram, but she's like right here, like right in a photo. Kind of up behind me here. And she was my best friend. I lost her to cancer. A 20-year battle of cancer.
God. Yeah. That's 20 freaking years, like
2 decades. She had it. Then she fought it. and she had it, and then she fought it, and then she inevitably succumbed to it.
Yeah.
But it was 6 months after she died.
Mm-hmm.
I lost the girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was never the popular kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that I'm becoming the popular kid now out of my former class.
Yeah.
Just because of obviously everything that I'm doing. But like, I just remember I was so angry. I just wanted it to be done. And like, I remember taking like the blade and taking it into my wrist and like going up my arm and nothing happening. I was so angry at that moment in time that I took it in my other hand and did the same thing on my left arm and nothing happened again.
Wow.
So you want to talk about a sign?
Yeah.
Like,
jeez, man.
And I truly believe my grandmother was protecting my arms that day.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, and if that's not a sign that you're not supposed to be here and do something better with your life, like,
Yeah, right.
I don't know what the fuck is. And
that's insane. I don't even know how to do that. Like, I like, given what I know, like, you're gonna hit some veins, like some major freaking veins and stuff like that. That's just
like
insane. That's insane to me.
No explanation.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
Other than she took the blade from me that day.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, the craziest part about it is I didn't recall that until several years later when I was helping a friend through their traumatic moment, their on the ledge moment, and my own last one came rushing back.
Yeah.
It was tough, man. But then as soon as it happened, I remembered everything. I remember like the music that was playing in the background, the fact that I didn't leave a note because I was like, fuck it, nobody cares anyways. And like the fact that it was dark, but yet it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I remember everything.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of those things, guys, like, and the whole ethos of this entire program is you're not alone. Like this, and I will repetitively say this, is a safe place. Like, don't feel like you cannot come into this and say something like, you will not be judged, you will not be criticized, you will be openly welcomed, because the entire message behind this show, like, is my story might not always resonate with each of you, but your story will resonate with someone else. And like, that's how we break the stigma. Like, I know it's mental health month right now, but this is how we start breaking the stigma, by actually fucking talking about it. And yes, it's painful. It's not pretty. It's not glamorous, but it affects everybody. Like,
yeah. No, it really does affect everybody. And thank you for sharing that. Because, you know, this is difficult shit. Have you seen the Harry Potter series?
A little bit. I was into punk rock music
when
when Harry Potter was like really popular.
That's cool. That's cool. It's
one
just
of those kids.
It's just there's two things that I'd like to comment on that are really important with regards to mental health. Because I think, first off, I think that modern stories and modern like media, things that are huge, like things like Harry Potter and the Avengers and the Matrix and stuff like that, they're really useful as tools, and we need them as humans in order to relate ideas. And so that's the first. But the big thing is, so in the story, they have the big evil villain, Lord Voldemort, and they can't even, and like part of the problem in the series with Lord Voldemort is that people don't even want to talk about him, you know? So they call him like he who shall not be named. And as long as you call it that thing that shall not be named, or as long as you make it so you don't talk about the damn thing, guess what you're not going to do? You're not going to say it. You're not going to solve it. Like, it's just that simple. And on top of that, they have these other characters called the Dementors, and the Dementors really are one of the best characterizations of depression and the shit we get ourselves into. You know, the Dementors, they're total anxiety, like personified. So they look like these black ghost-like figures that come over and they suck the soul out of you and slowly turn you dark, so that your entire perception of the world is a worse perception of the world. slowly turn you into thinking that you're useless, slowly turn the closest people that you have into basically enemies and start turning you outwards into like blaming everything else around you. And, you know, just the final nail in the coffin is make you have like contempt for yourself, like absolute disgust and contempt for yourself in a useless manner that you think like there's nothing to do. And as soon as you take that away, like then it's game over, man. It's game over, you know?
Right.
Dude, we're on the same tip, you know, like if I were to describe the entirety of my work, you know, TJ Reeves' MindBody Builder is one giant exercise in TJ Reeves' mind body repairing itself after so much freaking damage. You know, we all have this form of damage. And, you know, I just happen to recognize that, you know, the treatment isn't just talking and it's not just action, but it's all forms of things. And I agree. Like, just, you know, one last thing about that, going back to similar to what I said with Lord Voldemort, you know, a big aspect of what causes so much depression and so much worry and so much anxiety and so many issues, so many evils in this world is shame, is that feeling that what you are at an existential level is bad, and that's separate from guilt. That is really important. Very separate from guilt. Guilt is healthy. That you did something bad is healthy, and it can cause you to do things that are good for yourself. But that you're at an existential bad, that can cause issues. And you only get rid of the shame by bringing it out into the light through transparency. That is it. It must be transparent. You must hold it to the light. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no other treatment. There's no Ferrari. There's no girl. There's no drug. There's no psychedelic. And I love psychedelics. There's no psychedelics. There's no meditation. I love meditation. There's no meditation teacher. None of it. You have to bring it to the light, hold it there, and show that it's not that bad. It disappears in the light, and then you can work on it. So, yeah.
I mean, that's it. Like, and I mean, you brought up a couple of things like your cultural like how you grew up, the cultural background, everything as it relates to how that made you. And I mean, in a lot of these cultures too, we also didn't, I mean, mental health is a stigma that we don't talk about, especially being a man.
Yeah. Especially being a man. Yeah.
I mean, but thankfully, in my instance, I was raised in a very empathetic house. Like, we dealt with emotion. Like, we led with our heart, which had its ups and downs and its good and its evil. But like, we always led with our heart. And that was one of the things that my parents and my grandparents always instilled in me. And it resonates now. But I mean, dude, I like minds, brother. That's all I have to say. Like,
yeah, man.
There's nothing that I can say now because, like, you resonated every single thing I needed was on. But
thank you,
one
man.
of the things that I kind of want to take a break for a moment and mention.
Yeah.
If you guys, if you are watching or listening to this and you are struggling, I don't care what it's with. If it's depression, if it's anxiety, if it's eating disorders, if it's alcoholism, if it's drug abuse, whatever it is, if you don't want to reach out to me, I understand. But there are thousands of resources out there for you to reach out to. I mean, in the depression space, I really love Jamie's story from To Write Love on Her Arms. In fact, I have an email set to go out to him tomorrow, all around the open heart and helping to lift this platform up a little bit. Find somebody to reach out to and talk to. This is how available I am, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on Instagram or anywhere near Instagram at any point in time, my literal cell phone number is the call button on my profile. Like, call me, text me. I'm here. I already sent this live to 2 people. And this all stemmed from, because we don't talk about this enough, and it really came from the music world, right? Because I'm in the music industry. And I do branding and marketing and all that other shit too, but I really come from the music industry. And which is weird because You would think with everything that has happened, with everybody that we've lost, we would somehow become more proactive and actually fucking talk about this shit. But we haven't. We've become so reactive to mental health that it's starting to literally bother me.
Oh, dude. I mean, does it bother me? Look at my whole profile. My whole profile is literally talking about proactive things you can do, like, for this issue. It's like literally my entire profile. Like, and I mean every single image on my profile is about proactive shit you can do to aid. Like,
right. Which is odd, right? Because we're in like this shadow of this Gary V world right now, right? Which is hustle 24/7, always be on the offense, go do shit, right? Like build, do, like all these adjectives and buzzwords, right? Hustle, all that, right? But the one thing we as a human fucking race right now are not proactive, are not on the offense about is our own mental health and the health of that and those in the community. Like, why the fuck not?
Dude, it's insane to me. But I'll give you why not. I'll give you why not. Because it's an important question to understand, and there are paradigms to show why not. The reason why not, and this is not some excuses for it, this is examining the issue. The reason why not is because we follow people based off of their successes, but only in one area of life. So I always talk about, again, this is something that if you go to my profile, you guys, you'll see it. I always talk about mind, body, relationships, and business/creativity, right? I use them interchangeably. We pay attention in this world, especially in America, to people who are killing it in the business area. And that's like what we pay attention to. And just because you did that has nothing to do with any of these other things. So a good example, shitting on Elon Musk in this podcast,
shit on him.
But okay, Elon Musk. Okay,
he's someone hear or see this. Pay attention. Anyways, keep going.
He's someone who is killing it in the business section. Okay, he's going to be known for a while. Okay, he's going to, right? But let's look at his life. Okay, divorced twice. Okay, in fact, one of his wives said that he said, quote to her, "If you were an employee, I would have fired you." Who says that? Who says that in the relationships? That's fucked up. Okay, you look at his body. And I don't even have to speak further, okay? Just look at Elon Musk for 1 second at his body. He does not take care of his body. He talks constantly about how he sleeps on the floor of the factory where he works. He sleeps on the floor of Tesla Industries. That's what he does. He does not get good sleep. And then he goes on stage and they ask Elon Musk, "Hey, Elon Musk, what advice do you have for the young children coming up?" He says, "Don't become Elon Musk because I'm incredibly depressed." Literally says it like out loud, just like that. Literally verbatim. Don't become Elon Musk. But what do? We hold him up and we say, "This is it. This is the top pinnacle of humanity. And you got to hustle and you got to chase and you got to figure it out." And
don't chase.
Yeah, right. So what happens? Okay, we have a lot of people doing the stupid chase thing. Okay, and they overdo it, and then they don't pay attention to the other areas of life. Okay, so to play very clear attention here. I'm not saying don't go all in business. I am someone who's gone all in their business and their career and their mindset and those aspects of studying. So I'm not saying you leave off and you don't work hard, okay? But still, you go all in the other areas of life too, okay? You don't not pay attention to them. You have to pay attention to them. So we have some people who try to do the must thing and only focus on that, and then they make their lives miserable. And then what happens? They burn themselves out. So then what happens with that? Then they become complete losers, and they don't do anything with their business, and they don't do anything to take care of their marketing, take care of their personal branding, take care of any of these things. So then what do? They go and join these stupid spiritual communities that are like they're ridiculous.
Or buy a Tai Lopez course.
Yeah, buy a Tai Lopez course. Yeah, and just like completely get lost in the mind. So it's like, so these poor people, they either like they screw themselves up in their business because they focus on someone who doesn't pay attention to the other areas of life, or they listen to someone who only focuses on these other areas of life, but are complete losers when it comes to business and have no mindsets that would help them out whatsoever when it comes to their career. So they basically become like hippies. They become like useless to society. And they think that this is what it means to find themselves. They think that finding yourself in our society has become this thing that means, let me wander around like a little feather in the wind, okay, to be pushed and pulled by the matrix of society, the matrix of our culture, okay, in order to be shaped by everybody else and not build yourself in your career and your mind and your body and your relationships. It's just, but yeah, it's hilarious to me. It's very, very funny.
Right. Hey, Lou is asking me to ask you about Reeves scale.
Okay, so that's something that I worked through with Luigi, and it's basically for anybody listening to this podcast. This is an actionable thing you can do to really take into account your life. And basically, it's not like some psychological theory that's been well tested. Okay, it's just an idea. You can try it out for yourself. But basically, it gives you a measure of how efficient you're being in your life. Okay, so what I did was I said, okay, we take your mind, your body, your relationships, and your career, and you take a real hard look at them, and you give yourself a score on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, you give a scale in each one of them. Now you take whatever score you got on each one, okay, and you square that. Okay, then you take all those and you add them together, and that will be the percentage of efficiency at which you're running your life. So it's like, so what does that mean? Okay, I talked to the average person in our society, and honestly, the average in America is like a 1 in every single category. The average in America is a 1 in every category. So they're not like, they do not understand anything about, like, you know, they do not understand anything about their mind. They don't understand what cognitive biases are. They don't understand they don't understand what the ego is. They don't understand that they trick themselves. They don't understand, you know, that there's other forms of consciousness, not just like waking state and dreaming state. There's many other forms. They don't understand any of these things. So they get a 1 in that. Okay. Then I look at their bodies. They're not eating right. They're eating a bunch of shit. They don't work out. They don't sleep right. They take in a bunch of alcohol. They waste their time. All of this. Okay. So they score 1, and they might be addicted to some hard drugs. So there you go. They score 1 in their body. And then I look at their relationships, and they've got really shitty relationships. They've got relationships that hold them back. And on top of that, they also get a negative score because they're freaking blaming everybody else. So when you do that, you're going to ruin your relationships. Okay, you're not taking perspectives of others. So they get a 1 in that. And then look at their business, and they're not doing anything. They're basically a cog in the giant machine, the cultural matrix, and they score 1 in that. They can barely. And what does a 1 mean? That means you barely support yourself. That's what a 1 means. Most people in America barely support themselves. If not, they're in unbelievable debt. So you get a 1. So what does that mean? Well, you square 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Okay, and you add them together. So you get 1 squared, 1 squared, 1 squared, 1 squared. You add them together. What does that mean? You've got a 4. That's a 4. Okay, that means that you're only running at 4% efficiency. So when you tell me that your life sucks and that you're depressed and you're miserable, well, no wonder. It's because you're at 4% of the possible efficiency of yourself. There's 96% of your life that you could have improved on, and you haven't at all. You see? So this is what the Reeves scale is kind of like. So on the other hand, if we get someone who's a 5 in every category, they'd be like running at 100% efficiency. No one's like this. They'd basically be an enlightened God. Okay. But but after the end of this live you can literally score yourself like, damn, okay, you know, I do know a little bit about meditation. Like I started using the little meditation thing, but I'm not like my phone just died on Instagram because of the temperature. Yeah, the temperature just died. Oh man.
Gotta love those iPhones.
I'm sorry. Everything I was saying was just too hot to handle for the phone.
CJ's phone. Anyways, guys, like on that note, Instagram, I'm gonna actually close you out. If you want to watch or listen to the rest of this, head over to the Facebook page now. TJ literally broke his phone on that. I mean, this is the first time this has ever happened on one of these, and this is the 13th episode. The
Yo, Luigi,
13th
is there any
episode.
chance you can put this in the fridge for a second? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you, man. Yeah. Okay.
Literally, the 13th episode, and this happens.
Oh my
Like,
goodness, that's hilarious.
Never.
That's never happened. It was. I had it sitting on my computer, and so it just died right there. So anyway, so as I was saying, okay, with this scale, what you do? So you take an honest assessment of your body. Okay, so you get a point for sleep, for making sure that you're getting the proper amounts of sleep.
Catch the rest of it over there.
So I'll give it one quick moment. I am so sorry about that, man.
No, you're good. Like, mad respect for that, bro. I can honestly say that's never happened before.
That's hilarious, dude. That's hilarious. Oh yeah.
Man.
Okay, so as I was saying, so you would look at your body and you can say, okay, am I getting the right amount of sleep? That's a good point. So getting the right amount of sleep, but you're not really working out, you're not doing the other stuff. Okay, you're 2 out of 5. That's good. Okay, be honest with yourself. This is not me judging you. This is you on yourself. You know what you could do. Okay, are you?
All right. So what are the 5 categories again?
So okay, so we've got mind, we've got body, we've got relationships, and we got career / productivity / business. Okay, and so we're looking at our mind. We're asking, have we really gone all in exploring the mind? There's plenty of stuff to demonstrate. Hey, maybe not. It's like, do you understand a lot about psychology? Are you understanding things about meditation? Because like meditation, it's like the fact is there's been over 3,000 studies on the benefits of meditation. 3,000, okay. And the facts are in. It is a fact that you are better off when you meditate. Period. It's not up to debate. It's not like, well, maybe there's no. It's a fact. Okay, your focus and attention increases by a factor of 10. Okay, your ability to mitigate things like depression decreases. Okay, it increases such that your depression decreases by 50%. There's many benefits. So that's a big thing to explore. Entire science. It's an entire science. We've had 2,000, 3,000 years of research. If you go back into the ancient scripts and literature, we've been doing it for a long time. Okay, body. You look at, am I in the right amounts of sleep? Am I getting amounts of workout? Am I eating right? Am I taking in drugs? All these other things. Okay, so you can really give yourself an honest assessment. Okay, and for each one of these big categories, take a point off if you're missing it. For your relationships, okay, you're paying attention to literally like how well you're doing with your friends and your family. Are you making sure to take care, like talk to the people that are important in your life every night? Do you have 5 people, not one, because a lot of people only have one. Do you have 5 people that you can talk to that are creating a legacy for themselves, which goes to the next category, okay? But we'll talk about that very soon. But do you have 5 people that you're working with that help you better vision of you? For every person that is holding you back because you've got really shitty relationship with that, there you go. That's a point off. You can work on that. You know what you have to address with your people. You know that, And then your business, okay? We're giving it, look at yourself, look at what you're doing with your career, and you know that you can make it, okay? So ask yourself, okay? A 1 is someone who's like just doing basically horribly in their life, and they have to live off of basically government. They have to, you can't support yourself, okay? And mind you, I'm not some like asshole who's like getting mad at all homeless people. Okay, I'm not. All right, I have empathy. I understand that. In fact, most people who they have issues, they might have concussions or things like that. I get that. Okay, but we're just taking honest assessment. If that's one end of the spectrum, and then the other end of the spectrum is an absolute freaking legend. Okay, I'm talking about a 5 out of 5 looks like Jesus. A 5 out of 5 looks like someone like Socrates. A 5 out of 5 looks like the Buddha. Okay, you're not gonna reach a 5 out of 5. But but like there's a difference between the two. Okay, we can agree that between someone who dies and no one knows their name and someone who's an absolute legend to be remembered for 2,000, 3,000 years. Look at what you're doing with your life. Is what you're doing progressing humanity forward? I'm not even talking about the amount of money that you're making. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, whether or not you're being a selfish prick that's only working for himself and only trying to make money for himself. You know that. And I'm sorry for those of you who are watching whose only reason to do stuff in business is because of your family. Yeah, I get it. That's still just as bad. Okay, you get like a 1.5. Okay, that's still just as egotistical. Okay, the only reason you say that is they're just an extension of you. So is what you're doing to the society actually going to help everybody out. We share 99.5% of our genetics. If you help out everybody, also help yourself out. If you help out the 7 billion people, 99.5% of your genetics, it's as if you've had many children. So consider that. For those of you who say, I only do this for my family. Well, guess what? You've had a billion people in your family if you actually help them. So assess yourself on that. Okay, 1 to 5 scale, square it, add it, and then you can figure out, oh, crap. I'm running, like the other day I had a friend, he did it. And he was running he's got a 24. So he's running at 24% efficiency. So that's good. I mean, if the average person's like a 5, but that still means like you have no right to complain. You have no right to complain about why your life sucks because look, you haven't even done 3/4 of what you could have done. So,
and I don't even think we have the right to complain anyways.
Yeah, we don't even have the right to complain anyways.
like, I mean, and I deal a lot with musicians, and like musicians are the largest demographic of human beings to complain.
That's funny. That's so funny.
Which is odd because and here to kind of expand on the math, like so if we follow the Gary Vee train of logic of 400 trillion to 1 odds of becoming a human being, right?
Yeah. Right.
Calculate that out by the fact that only about 5% of the world's populace is actually a musician.
Right.
Because they don't want to, they can't, or they're too fucking afraid.
Yeah.
So literally it breaks fucking calculators to try and figure out the odds of becoming a musician. And yet music is one of the only art forms that can actually transport your mind to a different place.
I agree. I completely agree.
Like, I'm really on this thing that music causes internal time travel. Like
it does. It does. It really the way it affects people. Yeah.
Right. Because, and I always equate it to like the really awkward teenager in the car with the first kiss moment. Right. Because that's that's one that everybody can correlate and really understand.
Yeah.
But think about it. You do that first girlfriend, right? And then all of a sudden, like something goes, like you break up, you don't listen to the song, you don't hear it again for a decade. And then you hear it. And then all of a sudden you're instantaneously transported back to that moment in time. It's like, and that's the power of music. And yet musicians fucking complain? Really?
Right? Yeah, it is.
Or entrepreneurs complain. Like nobody has the ability.
It's a superpower. In other words, it's a superpower.
Like, it is. Being a musician is rare. Like you can create impact with people. Like you can change a person's entire energy with a song.
Oh, absolutely. You can change someone's life. What, man, you give me like literally you physically give me someone and you give me like a couple of hours with them to meditate with them, take them out into nature, give them a nice psychedelic and the right song, and I can change their life.
Right. Like
you can like, and at a visceral level, I can change their entirety of their personality. The right song at the right time.
I have to come to South Carolina.
like Steve Jobs, you know how he created Apple? Like the first idea of the iPod, he's out in a field of wheat. Okay. And he's like tripping acid or something like that. And he starts imagining, what if I had Mozart out here with me? He dreamed of bringing Mozart out there with him in the field of flowers because he had that moment. He was just thinking of Mozart. He wasn't even listening to it. He just thought of Mozart. And he was like, wow, this would be so beautiful to be able to bring this out. And now I want to bring that to the people. And that's the start of a $900 billion freaking dollar company.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke, the power of music. It's really no joke. And I'll give you more about it. So you said 5% of the population is musicians. So there's this thing called the Creative Achievement Questionnaire. This is like a paradigm used in psychology. You ask people about how
they're doing. Lou in the background?
That is Luigi in the background. Yeah. By the way, Luigi, can you see if my phone cooled down a little bit? Thank you, man. So the average score on the Creative Achievement Questionnaire, where it asks you different things like, have you, like, it has a list of different categories of creativity. It asks you, like, have you had any recognized talent in it? Have you taken lessons in it? Have you learned anything about it? Like, how are you doing with it? The average person scores a 0 in their creativity. 0. The median score is 0. And then people who are creative on one aspect tend to also be creative in all other of the aspects. It's like 0.8 correlation. So if you have the type of mind that has creativity, it's a bit of a curse. It's troublesome because it means that you have to be constantly producing. And if you don't produce, you're going to get depressed. That's part of why I have creativity and I have business/creativity, because I'm not just saying it's about them. But anyways, you know, blessed with this gift and not use it and think of it as a curse and not take advantage of it is so saddening, because it means that you have the type of mind that is made literally at a physical, biological level, built to progress humanity forward. You know, you can't claim that you love people, right? You can't claim that you love people and at the same time, not do things to mitigate their suffering. What it means to love someone is to help them grow and to help them not have to suffer nearly as much. And so if you're a highly creative person, then you are at a position to take care of those you love in a way that's literally never been seen before. That's the gift that you've been given as a creative. Man, that's a pretty powerful gift, to be able to love someone who's never been loved before. Fuck, man. And to complain about that, or to not use that, or to wallow in your bullshit. How can you claim you love someone? How?
Right. Wow. All right, guys. Talk about a power hour, man. Like we could go on. I think this could literally last all night.
Yeah,
but
you got another podcast coming up.
to speak of relationships, I should probably go attend to mine. Yeah. So on that note, TJ, my friend, tell the people who are watching and listening where they can find you and connect with you.
Yeah, so to find me, you can find me best, and you can message me on Instagram at TJ Reeves MindBody Builder. So TJ REES and then Mind Builder. That's the best way to like see some of my content. All my content only educates, entertains, or impacts people.
Oh, did you break your computer now? TJ, did I lose you? I think I might have lost TJ. Thank you, Rachel, for tuning in. TJ, I don't know what happened, man. You're breaking everything. It's really like paused on the worst possible face, because it's just you looking angry. Well, on that note, seeing how I think the camera froze on my end. Yeah. So it's funny that the camera froze, because it's like froze on this very interesting face. On this note, my friends, I'm going to call this an end to episode number 13 of the Open Heart Collective. Join me on this coming Friday for episode number 14. My guest on Friday is podcast host, creator, and bearded man of LA. His name is Bobby Hobart. Sorry. Stay tuned for more on that. To everybody who tuned in live or watches or listens to this after the fact, I want to say a massive amount of thanks to each and every one of you, because it's for each of you that we do this every single week, twice a week. So, and that being said, my friends, as always, be happy, have fun, and hustle hard. But remember, if the first two aren't there, there's no amount of the third that can make the first two happen. We'll see you guys in the next one.